Hi guys. So in this video, I want to give you an update about the Services app. In the last video, I implemented the REST API, but it was still not working on the app. Right now, I already have the REST API working on the app, and I'm currently implementing the Add Company endpoint. I'm going to show you the current state of the app. Just a few notes about the last video, stuff that I discovered in between videos. On the last one, I had an error when I was trying to use the add company endpoint. And it was a really simple error. At the time, I didn't realize what it was. But basically, I was trying to add a company with a service ID that doesn't exist on the services table. And so because I have the foreign keys in place, it had a constraint that it didn't let me add, and it was doing basically its job. So the problem was I was still using some old data when I was trying to simulate the request on Postman. And another thing is that on the last video, I talked about changing the host file in the emulator in a way that I could access the virtual host that I have on my WAMP server. But it turns out that it doesn't work that well. I mean, it works when we do the whole process. So I was able to change the host file, upload the host file into the emulator, and it was all working perfectly. And I was expecting it that when I restarted the emulator, the configuration would still be the same. But it seems that it's not. So I don't know if I made some kind of mistake in between, because I have no idea. But I didn't want to lose more time about it. So I just went with a different route. And right now, instead of using the host file and changing the host file in the emulator to access my virtual host, I'm using ngrok to do it. So it's pretty simple. The only thing I need to do every time I pick up this project, I just rewrite the host so I can access my virtual host, and I change in the app I have a class with the API where I have like the host URL, and I just change the URL to the new one in Grok. It's not the most efficient way. I still have to do this manual process every time I start working with the project, but it's still better than doing the whole process of changing the host file in the emulator. I don't know. If you guys know any other solution for this, a permanent solution, like I can do it one time and it's done, please let me know. And okay, so the app right now, how it's working. So I have what I had before, so we can start. Right now we can search for services, not this one does not return. For example, actors. Here we are searching for actors. It's just because yesterday, no, a few days ago, when I woke up, I was thinking about this. I don't know why, but I was thinking about this, and I realized that I needed to change something on the get services and the get location endpoints. And now my question, the problem that I identified was that when I was doing get services, these are all new parameters, I was just giving the search keywords, and it would return all the services that I had in the database with those keywords. Now, the problem is that I intend on having already a bunch more services than companies using those services. So I'll probably have a lot of services that there are no companies associated with it. So, and the problem is that if I was just returning all the services that I have in my database, I would be returning services that in the end wouldn't have a match for any company. And so it would happen a lot of times. Probably the user would be searching for a certain service, selecting the service, selecting the location, and at the end you wouldn't have any match, and this is a bad user experience. So I realized this, and what I added was that by default the search for services only return companies that return services that have a company associated with it. I mean, I'm only returning services that already have companies that are able to perform that service. And then I add a new parameter, which is all parameter, which says that basically return me everything. And this extra parameter is used when a company is filling in the form to join the app. Because when a company is joining the app, it needs to have access to all the services that I already have in the database. So they can choose which service they perform. But when the user is searching for the services, I can only show services that belong to existing companies. This was one of the changes that I realized. And another one was in the same way was that locations it was the same, so I can always show locations that are related to services in the database, and also I can only show locations that have companies associated with them, and those companies perform the service that was selected before. So, because the user first selects the service that he wants, and only then he selects the location. So, when I return the services, the user will select a service, and when I have that service, I need to tell the location, okay, I need locations for this service. So I can only return companies that have that service in that location, because otherwise the user would also end the whole process with any match, and we don't want that. So I just added the service ID parameter where I can just send the service ID that was selected, and then I can return the locations that have companies that perform that service in those locations. And I also added the all parameter. By default, it only returns locations that are associated with services in the join form or in the form where companies fill in to join the app. I activate I pass the all parameter to return everything. So these were the main changes that I did to the API, I believe. In the ad company, I didn't change anything. Oh no, I made one last change here on the get services, which is the exclude parameter. And I'm going to explain this in a bit when I get to the join form. So back to the app. Right now, we can search for services. These results are already coming from the database. We have to search for this one because I have like a dummy company that have this service, so I already know that this service exists. All the other ones don't exist, so if I try any other, it doesn't exist. I mean, right now we only have these ones. It were the first in the table, so yeah. We can search for actors, then we can search for a location. Right now I know that this location is also one of the ones that exist. We can search for the location. It will search for the professionals that can perform the selected service on the selected location. And it returns a whole list. Right now we only have one company, but it's a dummy company so far. And here the user can make several things. So you can select which companies to contact. So it's not, despite I'm returning like a whole list of companies, it might select that are all selected by default. It may choose not to contact one of those companies. So you can just uncheck the company here. You can also choose to contact each company manually, so you can just open the menu and make a call to the company, send an email only to that company, or open the web page. These are all working, I believe. Yeah, so you can call the company. You can also back. You can also send an email to the company, and it already has the mail of the company. And you can also open the website of the company. These are all fake data, but I can see that it's working. Or you can choose to contact the company. This is not perfect yet. I have no idea why this is happening. I had to create this. This is a floating action button of material design, and we have this expandable floating action button because in this case we don't have only one action, but we have two actions. So I need to expand this button in a way that when the user selects here, he can either choose to send an email to all the companies that are here in the list, or he can choose to just share the data from all the companies. So he can like save it in a notes app or something like that, or send it to someone by message, something like that. So I used a tutorial from Flutter. Really good. I mean, they have like the whole code to create this floating action button, expandable floating action button. But I still have some things to deal with here. I don't know why this is happening. So I could select this and choose an email, and that what this will do. Right now we only have one company, so we only have one email, but it basically will take all the emails take the emails from all the companies, the selected companies in the results list, and add all those emails to the BCC field. And I'm still missing adding the user email to the to field, which I can't do because I don't have the user email on the app. So probably I'll need to add some note on the app to say, okay, send the email to yourself, because everything else is going to be on the BCC field. So the receivers don't know who else is receiving the email. I'll have to think about this. But we can also share the data. And if we share the data, you can see here that we have a data in text. So basically we will print all the data of each company, a list with all the data with name, description, telephone number, email, and website. So I have all this process working. I still have to fix a bit of some things here and some other details, but overall it's working as I expected. And right now, the last thing that I'm doing is I'm working in the... Oh, something happened. Oh yeah, I still have a problem with maintaining the state of the screens. I need to check why this is happening, because when I go back in the screens hierarchy, I got one screen that it just crashes because it had some problem with the state of the screen, and I still need to fix that. That was what happened here. Okay, so we are back. I fixed the about screen also. So I fixed this to be responsive. So we have the button for the app web page, and also to send an email to me in this case. And also have a link to my website. And we can share the app, which will open. Right now it has my website, but it will have the app Google Play link or App Store link. And I'm currently working on the join screen, which has this whole form where companies can fill in the business name, the description, phone number, email address, and web page, and then they can add this, and then they can add which services they are able to perform and in which locations. So this form already has validation. So if you try to send the form, it says that these fields cannot be empty, and it also validates the fields in terms of if they are valid information or not. So if I try to do this, it will say, okay, the phone number is not valid, the email is not valid, and the URL or the web page is not valid. So here it's expecting 9 numbers, which is like a Portuguese. This is just for Portugal, so I'm not worried about having the country. How do you call it? Indicative? I don't know. The country, the plus 351. I'm not worried about that right now. The email also needs to have a valid format, so we need to insert, not here, wait. Yeah, this one. Insert a valid email, and the website, you need to insert a valid URL. I'm not going to be writing right now. And this is it in terms of the form. So all the rest of the form is ready to go. And now I'm currently working here on the add services and add locations. And I'm having a bit of a struggle here because in terms of design, I didn't think all the way through about this, and I still haven't found like the best way to do it, because my idea here was that the user could add the services. Let me show you the original design that I had. Not this one, not this one, not this one. Because when I thought about this at first, my idea here was to create something like this, where the user could select the services, and they would appear in this. The material design call it ship. They call this a ship. I don't know if this is the correct name or if there is any other name, but each selected service would appear in this list of chips below the section of the form. Now the problem here is that the user needs to search for the services, so I need to have a way to have an input search field where they can just write, just like they are searching for services and the locations in the client or the user side. I need to have an input field where they just can type to search for a service or for the location, have a list of results, and when the user is selecting the service that you want to perform, I need to add them to with ships here to this screen. Now, my problem here is that I was thinking of opening a new dialog, like a full screen dialog, like a new screen where I would have like a search box and a list, and the user could just select the services. But then he is not able to see what's happening on the screen. And my problem was that, okay, the user is now selecting services, and probably they are going to be disappearing from the list, but they are not appearing anywhere else, so he doesn't know exactly what's happening. I could use some snack bar on the bottom just saying, okay, you added one service or you have two services selected, but then it doesn't have a way to see, oh, where are the services, because I made a mistake and I want to remove the last service and I don't know where it went, because we are on a different screen and I'm not showing what the user is selecting. So my first idea was to create that dialog, a full screen dialog, and I would just duplicate this whole layout to that screen. But even that was difficult because I would have like the input fields at the top, the list of results, and then the ships would appear at the bottom. But then the keyboard would be over the ships or would push the ships when it opened, would push the ships up. And so we'd have like a really small screen to have the list and the ships that were selected. This was a whole thing. So I remember of going to the material guidelines. Let me just show you. Material sheets, Android material sheets. Yeah, sheets bottom. I remember coming to the material design reference website to see what kind of components they have, or they at least say that we can use. And I remember they had like these bottom sheets that we can use, and it's usually for links and for actions in that screen. But they also have another concept, which is the sheets on the side, something like this, that it will cover just a part of the screen, so we can still see the current screen on beneath, but we can do some operations here on the side. And this was the one that I went with, the one option that I went with. Flutter still doesn't support this, but I found a package that someone developed that supports this in a good way, and it was really easy to work with. So right now, person can add services. It will open this sheet on the side. Right now, it's still not the best because we can see the chips section here, but I'm using a really small phone in the emulator. I usually prefer to work with phones with a really small resolution, so I can see exactly how it would appear in really small phones, because then it's easier to make sure that when they are bigger, I mean, it's easier that the layout will adjust itself. But when it's smaller, I need to see like the minimum size that I need to worry about. That's why I have such a phone with such a small resolution. But here we could just search for services. This is like a cleaning service, for example, and we could select the services and they will appear here. And you can see, okay, cleaning the apartment, and here it's not yet removing from the list. I haven't finished this yet, but it's already adding the selections to the. Oh, sorry, it's already selecting, adding the selections to the main services list. And I don't remember if this one is working or not. Yeah, it's working. This one, okay. And now it just crashed, so it's not working yet. Let's forget about this one at the moment. I still need to finish this, and I don't know if I can delete it. No, I still can't delete it. So the idea is the person can open this, search for services. It will also, when the person selects the service, it will disappear from the list. And also, if the person searches again, right now it's not working, but this is the idea, because if I already have these services added, I want to, when I'm searching for services, I don't want to have those services returned again. So that's why I added the other parameter here on the search services, which is the exclude. And this exclude parameter, I basically can pass the IDs, service IDs, that will exclude when selecting from the table. So I know that I don't want to return the services. So I can pass just the IDs of the services that are selected, and when the user is searching for new services, these won't appear. That's why I added this exclude parameter. But it's still not working. I'm still finishing this part. And that's it. I mean, so far, this is where I'm at with the app. So this week I want to finish this whole submission of the company. And I'm still not sure how I'm going to implement this afterwards. Probably a company will just come here because the company doesn't have an account. I'm not asking for sign up and or anything like that. So the company doesn't have an account. So maybe my idea, but since they have to put an email, maybe what I will do, I will generate an ID for this company, send an email to have a confirmation dialog, to have a confirmation email, so they activate their account, and then they'll probably have a link that they can access if they want to change something here. Or I'll just generate the password, and when they go to that link, they can just access their page, like their small profile. Something like that. I'm still not sure, to be honest. I'm just changing the app and just thinking about these small details as I go along. And that's it. I mean, this is more like a learning project than anything else. And this is it. I mean, this is the whole app. It's a really simple app, once again. But yeah, I mean, it's almost done. Still will take a lot of time, but almost done. And that's it. So this is the update I have to give you, and I'll come back when I have some new stuff to show you guys. So see you on the next video. Thanks.